when we was 2,700.
yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to this agenda review meeting of the Nacogdoches Independent School District Board of Trustees. Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. I'd like to remind everyone that all items on the agenda today are for discussion only. No action will be taken at this particular meeting. Please join us with turning your phones to some type of silent mode. We didn't receive any request to address the board as outlined in the meeting notice. We'll begin by discussing the items from the consent agenda. Were there any questions concerning the board minutes? Okay, Ms. Barbrick, business office reports.
Good afternoon, President Urban, board members, Dr. Trujillo. I'd like to begin with the budget amendments, which are on begin on page 15. So our first budget amendment is to pull funds from fund balance for our annual replacement of uniforms. This year, the uniforms will be for athletics, and we are pulling out $100,000. Budget Amendment B is budget funds received for donations for Swim for Athletic Booster Club, $5,102 for revenue and expenses.
May I make comments, please? Item 1 that says $100,000 would be withdrawn for supplies and materials for extracurricular activities. Does it specifically said, I know as a former athletic director, I know how everything works. I think if I read it correctly, it would say for uniform changes.
Yes.
Okay, every often we change uniform for every sports.
Yes.
Because the size of the students change and uniform gets wore out. Is this for one specific sports?
No, it's
or
not.
for multi-sports?
It's for how he needs it.
Okay, what I'm saying is it itemized, because in the past, when we give this, every head coach, there's so-called stipends or plus, their equipment, official fees, and so on, all listed. But I know this is specifically for equipment and uniform. And just for public also know that materials that they said, sometimes they have to do the adjustment and test the helmets after the season. They have to buy pads and so on. This is, I'm clarifying, not questioning.
This is for uniforms, not for their helmet. They have separate funds for their helmets.
Yes,
So
great.
this is specifically for a sport-wide uniform replacement.
And do you have any idea how often they change?
This is an annual occurrence, but it changed. So we have fine arts, we have cheer and drill, we have, and this is also band instruments and then athletic uniforms. So I believe it's every 4 years.
Great, that is what I was going to be clarified. Is all other extracurricular activities also involved? It's not only sports?
Yes, that's correct.
So that would not be misled.
That's correct.
That's what I was trying to clear. Second, on the swimming, it says swimming from Athletic Booster Club.
The swim athletic booster.
It should be specific to say swim athletic club, because if another coach sees it, he says, oh, I don't get it, but swim gets it.
No.
It should say from swimming athletic club.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on budget amendments?
The money that's being spent has already been allocated in the athletic budget, is that correct?
This $100,000?
Yes.
No, they don't have it yet.
Okay. But was it budgeted initially?
No.
It wasn't, okay.
So this is a cost that wasn't expected or wasn't planned for, or?
No, every year, depending on how our fund balance does, so I wait for the audit to see how our prior year financials did. And when we have when we grow our fund balance, let's say, then I pull out certain amounts, 100,000 for this uniform instrument replacement, also for our vehicles. We pull it out of fund balance so that what they don't normally have budgeted can be spent on those items.
But we don't break that down. That 100,000 includes all the stuff that we've been talking about. Do you get a breakdown of how much is spent for football uniforms, how much is spent for basketball uniforms? Do we know that?
I have never known that, no. I just give it to them, and then they, I guess, trust the head coach to spend
May I
as appropriate.
clarify this? Every head coach of each sports, make a list and end of the year, number of uniform they need, the number of students they would anticipate to participate, how many games play and cost of official, and on the very bottom they put the clinic cost. So all of those collected, give it to athletic director. Then athletic director sits with the Ms. Barbaric and I guess another assistant superintendent sit like Dr. Knox was there, and we sit down, go through it, and finally come to a budget for each sport assigned.
And the other question I had is, what happens to all those uniforms that they replace? Do they get credit for those? What happens with those?
I know as an
Like-
athletic director,
I don't know that answer.
some of it passed on to the junior high, those are usable, or somehow discharged.
Coach Fosh, if I could ask you a question. We're in the middle of the season, so do we replace our uniforms in the middle of a football season, or?
No, sir. At the end of the year, the coach looked, see how many uniforms is useful, useless. Those are good still. They utilize those for practices, for example, black and white scrimmages.
So in essence, the funds that we are looking at now are for next year?
I don't think it is currently for next year, but it is, however, as she explained it, they put the money on the side just in case. Am I correct?
For,
Reverend Irvin, if you would like, let's do this. We could have Coach Allman attend our meeting on Thursday. It's valuable information that Coach Fashid has given us, but we want to have details from our current athletic director.
Yes.
To see exactly how those expenditures, and see the cycle that we have. But it's, because it's not just him, it's all the programming.
Right.
And it would much better inform the board on the questions that we have with the current practice that we have, because a lot of them stay the same. But so that we could fully ask those questions from our current athletic director, and he can give us information. So I'm fairly certain we can get him here and be able to answer some of those questions specifically, because we are, and that way you'll know what uniforms we're talking about, since he's utilizing, looks at all the programming that we have for athletics, if that's the will of the board.
You good with that, Coach?
Sir?
Are you good with that?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll do
That'll
that.
be fine.
So, Mr. Martin, if we'll get that situated with Coach Allman, so that we can have any questions that may have with this.
Okay, Ms. Barbic, donations
all right.
under
so-
25,000, 2,500?
Yes, thank you. So we received $1,000 donation for athletics from Raising Canes, and we received school supplies from Nacogdoches Chapter 428, Order of the Eastern Star, as well as Paridi Memorial, United Methodist Church, and Project SOS. Any other questions on the investment report? I mean, I'm sorry, on donations.
Just a big thank you.
The next item is the investment report. We have nothing different, our usual ins and outs as needed for cash flow. And again, our interest earnings continue to rise. And then I want to point out that you should have a revised check register in your board reports. The previous one provided was misaligned, so everybody, I don't think you would have found a single correct number against a person there. And I will take any other questions you have.
Were there any questions? Okay. Mr. Martin, with the appointment of School Health Advisory Council members.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. If it pleases the chair, I'd like to yield the floor to Mr. Maury Tarvin. And while he's coming up, if we may direct your attention to page 51 in your board book.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. I'd like to present to you today a list of people we are asking the board to approve for the Student Health Advisory Council. As many of you all are very aware, the law states that we must have this council, and what it does, it supports and coordinates school health programs and school health services for the district. So I believe each one of you has a list of members that we are asking for approval for. Many of these are returning members. They wanted to be on this committee. We also did reach out to different organizations just asking if they would like to join us. And I'm really pleased with the fact that we actually had some people out of the blue, out of cold calls. They just called and said that we want to be parties to SHAC. And so I just, yeah, come on. We're going to welcome everybody. I think for most of you all, you know, we have to have at least 4 meetings a year. 2 of those have to be open to the public. Every meeting that I have is posted at least 72 hours in advance. I try and do it at least a week out at every campus and at the DSC, and it is open to anybody who wants to come into that meeting. And we have been very fortunate that at 2 different meetings, we've had members of the public come on in and sit down. Most of them sit and listen, but we're certainly always welcome any type of input that they have. So, I don't have any
Mr. Tarvin.
questions.
Any questions from the board? Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
much. Mr. Martin, with the CIPA complaint internet safety protocols.
Thank you, President Irvin, board, Dr. Trujillo. Each year, required by the Texas Education Agency and FCC, school districts that participate in the E-rate program must post notice and have a board meeting to discuss and with the school board to approve a children's internet protection compliant policy. Furthermore, a yearly report is given about the status of the district's compliance with the Children's Internet Protection Act. And we are here to tell you this afternoon that the Nacogdoches Independent School District is in compliance with the Children's Internet Protection Act. Be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Glad to hear that. Board members, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Martin. Additional T-test appraisals for 22-23 school year, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may yield the floor to Mr. Harold Whitaker, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. The list before you are a list of additional appraisers we have for the 22-23 school year. As mentioned in the board meeting back in August, the list of personnel there have met all the requirements. They're mandated by TEA to be listed as approval appraisers. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
As a new person, would you just tell me more about what that means, that someone's an appraiser?
Sure thing, yes, ma'am. So every year we bring a list of T-test appraisers to the district. So T-test appraisers are the evaluation, T-test is the evaluation system that the district uses to evaluate their teachers. And so being an appraiser, you have the ability to go in and to evaluate said teacher at your campus or department. And so the list of appraisers have met all the requirements. They have to attend a 6-day training. 3 parts are for AEL and the other part is for actual T-test. And they learn how to be able to evaluate a teacher using that T-test system.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Pitcock, just a side note with that is, we have a wide range of folks that are T-test, they're trained to be evaluators. So when you see this list, it's typically, there are new administrators
Correct.
that have been hired into that new role. So when you see this list, you might think, well, this is a small list. No, the board needs to look at anybody that's coming on to be an appraiser. You might also notice that you do have some DSC folks. So teachers can ask for a second appraiser. And so we've got to provide them the opportunity to have a second appraiser, but you can't appraise if you've not gone through the training. And it's a pretty extensive training that requires our folks to go over to the service center and receive the possible training they have. So it kind of gives you a robust picture that this is in addition to the already certified trainers that have come to the board previously to be approved as appraisers. So just to kind of give you the full snapshot of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just for informational question, these appraisers, are they utilized at the schools where they teach or?
Correct, that is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so they have knowledge of the people that they're going to be appraising?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you all.
Board, do any of you have anything of urgent concern that would require an executive closed session? Well, if not, we will ask for a motion to adjourn in order that the superintendent might get back to a legislative session.
I move that we adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I move to accept or vote for consent agendas. Did we do that?
No, we don't take action.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right.
on-
Thursday night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So we do have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved in section. So be. Thank you.